Money. We all need it. And when you're starting a business, you really need it. There are so many startup costs, right? I don't know about you, but asking for money, asking someone to invest in my company, that scares the bejeebies out of me. I'd get all panicky, sweaty palms, probably stumble all over my words. Is there such a thing as getting funding for startups? Well, luckily for you, my next guest, Dr. Silvia Mah, knows all about the startup world and how to perfect your pitch so investors say yes. Is anyone else scared to pitch their company to investors? Go ahead, raise your hand. Hey, we have an amazing show lined up for you today. We want this to be interactive and we want to answer your questions. So please, while you're watching, if you have a question, drop it right there in the comments, because if you're thinking about it, I guarantee you someone else is too. So stay put, grab your laptop, grab your cup of coffee or second cup of coffee for some of us. Grab your notepad, your pen, whatever you need to do, and sit back and enjoy the show that's coming up in just one moment. There. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Fainbrandt, the host of this show, Bite-Sized Tips for Busy Entrepreneurs. Hey guys, how are you doing? It's Mary Fainbrandt here, and this is Bite-Sized Tips for Busy Entrepreneurs. And I have to give a big shout out to StreamYard, the official sponsor of this show. It makes streaming to multiple platforms and having multiple guests on your show as easy as hitting a button. Yes, if this girl can do it, you can go live too. I'll drop the link over in the comments in just a bit. So if you're interested in upping your streaming game or just getting started, I'm telling you, StreamYard is the platform, the program for you to get started on. So are you guys excited? Do you want to know how to pitch to investors so they say yes? Do you want to know how to do it with poise and style? Of course you do. Well, my next guest is amazing. Silvia Mah is the founder and chairman of Stella Labs, an accelerator program for women-owned businesses, which I've had the pleasure of mentoring some of those women on how to use LinkedIn to level up their game, increase their credibility, their confidence, their visibility, and generate leads. I love her accelerator program. If you want to learn more about that, we'll drop that link in the comments in just a little bit. Now, Sylvia is originally from Venezuela, but we met in San Diego through Hera Hub. Are you guys ready for Sylvia to come on the show and talk all about pitching to investors? Of course you are. Let's bring her on. Sylvia!
How are you, Mary? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thanks for doing this. I appreciate you. I know you have a packed schedule. You are always speaking and coaching and mentoring. Like, you are all over LinkedIn. I love how active you are there, because there's a lot of things that I learned that are going on through some of the posts that you put up there.
Well, you are the queen of LinkedIn, so I've learned from the best.
Well, thank you. We've had so much fun. Just a little history, you guys. Sylvia and I have known each other probably at least 5 years now. We met through the wonderful Hera Hub community and Felina Hansen. But then, we took that relationship outside of there, and we've worked together at UCSD doing training for your basement program and Startup San Diego, and all the things that you're involved in, which is amazing because you're a mother to, is it 4? 3?
Oh, well, the husband is number 4.
Okay. 3 amazing children and your husband. You're so active, always traveling, and yet you always have time for other people. And that is a quality that I love about you. You always have time for other people. So that is amazing. Now, the startup world isn't new to me. I've been involved with Startup San Diego as a mentor through Focus, that organization.
That's wonderful.
But being a startup, you need money, right? So, you just walk in and say, hey, Sylvia, I'm starting a business. You want to drop 5, 10, 50? You've been so involved in the startup world and investors. And I forgot, did I mention, that you know how to pitch to startups and you know how to invest? Because, now correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a portfolio of over 45 companies?
Yep, in my portfolio of investments.
That is amazing. So I know that in the future, one of my goals is to invest in a woman-led company. So yeah, that is on my.
You've invested in yourself.
Well, I have. Oh wow, thank you. Look at that. Okay, I'm going to invest in my second woman-led company, but that's probably a whole other show, how to vet companies and
anytime.
Yeah, that's going to be another show. But today we want to focus on knowing your investor persona as much as your customer persona, about the investment journey being a marathon. I love that you wrote that down because I feel like anything that's worth something is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And creating your deal room, the vault to communicate structure, leadership, and transparency. I cannot wait to dive in to these topics today. But can you tell our guests a little about how you got so involved in startup and pitching and investing?
That's awesome. Thank you, Mary. And thank you for having me part of the show. It's been great to see you grow and blossom and do so many things that that you do for so many women. So you've already actually invested in more than one woman-led business by mentoring and advising and having people part of the show. So thank you so much for all that you do. To have 45 companies in my portfolio, I have to really be able to see pitches and communicate with people that are, in the thousands, right? I'm doing investments since 2010, but prior to that, about 15 years of commercialization of university technologies. So what does that mean? Is just basically taking the ideas and patents and discoveries of startups that are, kind of starting off in the university world, either that they're students or undergrads, grad students, faculty, and postdocs, and helping them commercialize their technology. So that's where I started from. I'm a recovering scientist, so I have a PhD in biochemistry and molecular biology, which I don't use at all, but I use a scientific process in how do I evaluate those companies. You talked a little bit about evaluation. So that's really important. And so that's my journey, is that scientist that really went into the commercialization space. I was at the University of California, San Diego, directing a program called Teams in Engineering Service. So that's kind of where I started off my professional career. And I worked with undergrads, and we worked with not-for-profits that needed some kind of technology, either a platform or a water purification system or something like that, and really made sure that that team got together that was multidisciplinary, that did something good for a not-for-profit, something good for the world, and really focus on the technology piece. Now, that doesn't sound very different than what I'm doing actually right now, so many years later, but not only with students, but with all startups. And that's the crux of what it makes a good startup, is that you have a good technology or a good product, if it's a consumer product, or a platform that really makes an impact. I'm an impact investor, so my lens is a little bit in that aspect. So does it make this world a better place? And do you have the right team in place
I love that.
to do it?
Have you coined that? I'm an impact investor.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. The impact investor is a pretty common term, and a lot of people don't have an idea of what that is because a lot of people think it's philanthropy, but it really isn't. It's about really making sure that you have a return on impact and return on investment at the same time. So the quadruple bottom line.
I love it. I love it. You're making my wheels spin here about next year. I want to invest. My goal is next year I'm going to invest in a company.
Equity crowdfunding too. So
that's a whole nother show. Okay,
I know.
I'm gonna keep us on topic though.
Right and left.
I know. I'm so excited. Like I feel like there's a lot of women in my community here. You know, the Amy, Kendra, Evie, Stephanie. There's just a lot of women, and here in Arizona, the Tishas and Colleen and Joanne. Like, what if we all got together and invested together into a company? How amazing would that be to do it as a small group? Okay.
Oh, no, and that happens all the time. We have Wing Pact, which is up in the Bay Area. It was about 4 or 5 ladies getting together. They said, we want to invest. They actually wrote a book about it, Impact with Wings. And it was this really great group of ladies who had dinner parties and sourced some deals and sourced some startups. And then at Stella Angels, we're doing the same sort of thought processes, getting together a group of women here in San Diego that we invest. Same thing with OC Angels in Orange County, led by Xandra Laskowski. So it's been done that you just need that little small group that really wants to invest in the right startups that really get them excited. And then, you know, make that investment and help them, advise them, mentor them, as you just have already done for so many years.
I love it. Okay, well, let's get to today's topic, you know, and how to pitch so they say yes. So the first thing that we're going to discuss, or you're going to discuss, is know your investor persona as much as your customer persona. So if you're starting a business and you don't know who your customer is, you need to start there. I know, because you can't do business. How do you market to someone if you don't know who your customer is, right? But then you're saying you've got to know that and be clear on that. But then you have to know your investor persona. So how do we know that?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, you really brought it up, is that you need to know your customer to be able to sell to them. And an investment is basically selling to that investor, right? You're selling your business, you're selling your value proposition, you're selling what you are bringing to this world, your platform, your product, and you really have to understand who is your audience. And that's why I said investor persona is super important. So as you're developing your pitch, I wanted to kind of go beyond the pitch this time, right? Because a lot of people know how to pitch, right? Create a great pitch deck. It has to be designed really well. It has to have a story arc. You hear that a lot of different places. So I wanted to take a little bit of a different view, because Mary is one of my favorite ladies, and wanted to give her audience a little bit, and you right now in the audience, something a little bit different. So that investor persona, if you create a pitch deck, a pitch speech, an outline of a pitch to the right investor, they're going to actually be able to concentrate on what you're doing, excited about what you're doing, and follow on, right? So following on means that you just, you want to have a conversation with them. You want to have a coffee meeting. You want to continue learning more about the startup. And it's not just that one pitch. So it's kind of like this aspect of beyond the pitch. So the investor persona, how you develop that is saying, okay, who is the ideal investor that would be very excited about my company? Let's say you're in the sustainability space. You have a product that is really eco-friendly. You want to find those investors that are really talking about sustainability, talking about the environment, talking about eco-friendly products that they have already invested in. That's one way of looking at it. The other way is saying, okay, what stage of business are they going to invest in? Some investors are angel investors, super pre-seed, want to really be involved with the founder, want to invest in great ideas. Then there's other investors that are like, okay, we need to know that there's some kind of traction, revenue, or great customers that you have, especially if you're in the life sciences. You're not going to have revenue, right? But you can really have that conversation saying, I've had great customer interactions with hospitals or other companies, and that's that traction. So that's that type of investor saying, okay, what type of startup are they typically investing in? And then the last thing is that, well, what about the founder? Like for me, I invest only in female-led businesses and people of color. right? So
high five, double high five.
yes. So, and the thing is that you need to know that. And so that you can build out who, like, what's the profile of the typical investor that you would love to have on your cap table, which is the capitalization table, who you want them to give you money or write a check, because it's not just the check, it's also the advice and the mentoring and the network.
That's what I was going to say. Like, people don't think about that. Like, it's one thing to have someone write you a check, but what about having someone that invests in you personally through their experience, their knowledge, their network? Like that, you can't really put a price tag on. Like, they can introduce you to someone that can take your company, right? That one person that maybe you need on your team, or they've already been through something similar, similar space, the product or service that you're in, and they can really help you take your business to that next level. So when you're saying investors, when you said that, that triggered in me, it's more than just the money.
Yeah, it's like basically beyond the check, right? What can they bring? And that's why that persona is super important. What do they bring to the table that you can actually leverage, and you can really grow your business with that investor? It's not just the money.
Right. I love it. I love it. So I'm, my wheels are spinning as always.
I can see
so
them.
really know your investor persona and what type of businesses do they invest in? Are they that angel investor, the startup helping, and do they invest in women-owned businesses? That would be important if you're a woman, right?
Yes.
Looking to and get an investor, then you want to you want to look for the right type of investors, and then you want to create that pitch deck that speaks to them, right?
Yeah, and I would want to just add that is that if they are looking at the founder, let's say you understand that they're looking at a woman founder or LGBTQ founder or BIPOC founder, you know that they're interested in your team. So your slide deck and your pitch should at least have a little bit of seconds on the team. Another one that's more interested in industry or eco-friendly, you definitely want to have a slide that has an eco piece on it. So as you know what they want, you can really Taylor, thank you very much. I was looking for the name. Taylor, and focus on what they want to see so that you can get to yes easier.
I like it. Get to yes easier. So that totally makes sense. I love that you're breaking it down. There's a couple people that couldn't come to the live show, but they messaged me over in the LinkedIn bakery, and they're going to catch the replay. And then I told them to connect with you on LinkedIn. So this is going to help them out a lot. So topic or tip number 2 is the investment journey is a marathon. Okay. It's not a sprint, but you said that the journey is just as important as the finish line. So can you expand on what you mean by that?
Great. Thank you for bringing that up, because you're jogging my memory. So, investors really want to get to know the founder, the startup. They have to do due diligence, which means a process that they look into, the team, they look into the market, they look in the customers, they actually call up customers to see, are they excited? Are they buying over and over again? So that's a due diligence process. That sometimes takes, if it's really quick, it's like about a week. That never happens, right? It's usually about 3 months, 2-3 months, and sometimes even 6 months, because you're trying to figure out what kind of deal is good for you as an investor or as an angel group. So with that, that's why I say it's a marathon, because that process is sourcing of companies into an angel syndicate or angel group or an individual angel, and then going into, okay, how do I communicate with them? What is the best communication process? All of those pieces are really important. Now, I'm taking it down to just an individual angel so that we have just a concrete example. For me, I usually take about 7 meetings with an entrepreneur to get to my yes, right? And that's an average. And I'm not trying to say that it's 7 times to meet me because you have to meet with me 7 times. No, it's more like that first one is just getting to know each other. Then the second one might be, hey, can I look at your pitch? The third one might be like, okay, can we bring in your COO, or can we bring in your tech team? And I have a couple of questions. Then the next one would be like, okay, I'm writing out the due diligence report because I want to know more about your business, and I have some concrete, more specific questions. Then other ones, and then another meeting would be, hey, I talked to your customer. They're saying that they love this. What are your feelings about that? And so that's why this is a marathon. It's about bite size. Okay,
I love that you weave that in.
Yeah, bite-sized chunks of communication, sharing of information, of getting to know each other, especially if, let's say for me, I'm an early stage angel investor. I need to know that they are values aligned with me. So that is not a sprint. Right. If you're going to have a relationship with somebody, a friendship, even somebody on LinkedIn, right? We're going to go LinkedIn wise. You carry on conversations with them. You share their posts. You share this. You communicate with them. You get on a Zoom call. That's that investor journey. So think about it that way. And the biggest
about yeah. So if I could just interject. So my whole thing this year, my new 3C method, as it says right there, connect, cultivate, convert. You have to connect with the investor. You have to cultivate the relationship. And if you do all of that right and don't hurry it, because it's not a sprint, then you have the opportunity to convert them into your investor. I'm just gonna like that. I think my 3C method works in life for everything. It's all about connecting, cultivating, and then converting into the opportunity.
And I think the cultivation, I know you asked me about the process or the entrepreneurial journey through that investment communication. It's how fast you respond to emails. How open are you? How coachable are you? When they say, hey, you know what? I see a risk of your business is this, because they're looking for reasons to say no, actually. That's their main need is to say, okay, what are the risks so that I can de-risk my investment and know that I'm making the right investment, right? So when you're talking to them and saying, okay, let's have conversations, let's cultivate this, responding to them, realistically, and then saying, okay, well, you see that risk? Okay, I see that risk too, but how I'm mitigating it is this way. So that creates this communication, cultivation of data and information.
So you have to put your ego aside.
Amen.
Right? Like just because you think your business is like, I know my clients, I know my customers, I know my product, everybody needs this widget. It's gonna be the next thing to sell out on Amazon. But if an investor sees a risk, you need to listen, adjust, and then go back to them and say, I heard you. We looked into it a little further. Here's the changes or the adaptations that we made. Do you have any other suggestions? Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. I think it's all about being open for that criticism, because your business is your baby. Like, you know, you've poured your blood, sweat, and tears into it. You've charged up your credit cards, taken out a loan, worked long hours, right? It's your baby. And for someone to say, ooh, might be broken, you might have to just put that ego aside. I'm just thinking of some people in the business world, right, where they're like, no, it's perfect, I just want to grow, it's time for me to grow it, and I need an investor. So
I think that another thing to add too is how you think is also important to that investor. So when we're going through financials, I actually don't care about the hockey stick that much. I can see it, and everybody has a hockey stick. It's always going to be up and to the right.
What's a hockey stick?
The hockey stick is you have a projection, and right now you're at like 0 revenue, and you're going to be at 20,000 zillion revenue in 2 years. Wrong. Secondly, and everybody has the same projections. It looks like a little hockey stick, boop, boop, boop.
Okay. I was like, what's a hockey stick? I don't know.
So I see hockey sticks all the time. What I dive into is, what are your assumptions? How are you building out that financial? So that communication of, I'm building that out because I know my product is worth this much. I have this many people in my community. These are how many people are on my social media. Therefore, I know that I can convert, right, them in a certain way. And I love that conversation. And early stage investors love that conversation and that cultivation of information, because it's not just showing this projection and be like, oh, it's good. No, it's how do you think as an entrepreneur is so important for that investor to know I'm investing in the right founder, and they have values alignment with me because they're impact driven or whatever it is. All of that.
Because at the end of the day, they're investing in the people.
Exactly.
Because the product can be great, but if you're not running the company right, if you're not open to suggestions, or, oh my gosh, there might be a risk, if you're not willing to pivot when you need to, when I'm hearing you say all this great information, the investor is actually investing in you.
For sure.
I love it. Well, Randy joined us. Hi, Randy. He typed in C3.
I love it.
Yeah, Randy Fields, he's great. He's a leadership guy. You too should connect. Randy is amazing. He's a past client of mine. He has a podcast. He's faith-based, right?
Good.
So we share a lot of stuff. And Sylvia, like, you could just sit and talk to Randy. He's
Wonderful.
Just,
I would love to.
like, just an amazing guy. We just have some really in-depth conversations. So thank you for joining us, Randy. And Amy's over on Facebook watching. I think Randy was on LinkedIn. I'm trying to see who's here watching. Well, that was a really good analogy of the sprint versus, you know, the marathon, and that the journey, and that, you know, it takes time because you have to cultivate the relationship. So if you think this is happening overnight, folks, you're wrong.
Yep.
Settle in for the journey.
Yep.
Okay. Lastly, we want to talk about the entrepreneur creating a deal room, which, so me, I'm a vision person, right? I'm a visual person. So I like, oh, I'm setting up my deal room. I'm going to put everything in place so I feel good, right? And it's that vault, as you say, to communicate structure, leadership, and transparency. So can you dive into that? And if you have any real life examples of a company that you worked with that you maybe helped them create what their deal room was, I'd love for you to share that if you can.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. I know some investors, and there's a lot of chit chat out there that deal rooms might not be important, or, you know, don't do your deal room, just do your pitch. I love a deal room because as an investor, I invest in a company. I create my due diligence report for myself, making sure that I know why I'm investing in them, the market, you know, the team is really great. What are the strengths and what are the risks and how do they mitigate it? To be able to create all of that, the more information I get from the entrepreneur helps me define and write and communicate what are your strengths. So, you know, you cannot control what an investor says, hey, I really love this, or I really love that. You cannot control that, but you can control the information that you give to that investor, right? By doing a deal room, by doing a vault. And that deal room is basically, it's as simple as people do it on Dropbox, on Google Drive. There's other platforms out there that do it for you, but basically has all of your information in one, you know, location that has folders. Like one folder would be your team folder. One folder would be all of your contracts. Another folder would be all your legal things. What, you know, your LLC formation, your board of directors. Other pieces are your, like, your patents and all of that.
So wait, you can't have stuff on Post-it notes?
No.
I was going to bring that up because I know that some startups and some people just aren't organized yet. And I mean, I'm organized, you know, I'm organized, but I also love my Post-it notes. So before you get to the point where you're looking for investors, you better have your shit organized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It needs to be all organized and easy to find, right?
Yeah, easy to find. Again, it's that control, right? As the entrepreneur, you want to be able to showcase what you have. Now, I also think that deal rooms, and that's why I mentioned, Mary, that those three things, transparency, leadership, and structure, is that those three things, just because you have everything organized, allows that investor to already de-risk their investment by saying, wow, they have their stuff together. Wow, they're organized. Oh, this founder knows where everything is, can access certain things. You know, so I like this theme of today is more of like, yeah, there's some things that people know already, but I wanted to do beyond the pitch or beyond the deal room. Why is it important? Because entrepreneurs are driven by their whys. Right? Because if you tell an entrepreneur, do a deal room, they're like, I don't have time. But if I tell them why, they're like, oh, I need to do it tonight. I'm like, yes, you do. Right?
Because we're talking about how to get investors to say yes quicker, right? So if you have these things set up before you even go to an investor, you're closer to that yes. And that's what today's talk is about. So I love this idea of having that deal room set up. And, you know, you need to do it anyways. Right? Wherever you're at in your business, you need to be organized with financials, contracts, the legal, you know, all the legal part. You should have that all organized. Dropbox, Google Drive. I'm a Google Drive person.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Some people use Dropbox, and I'm always like, can't you just please use Google Drive? But,
that's a whole other like topic of Dropbox or Google. Let me tell you, because almost every single day I have that conversation with people, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know. So yeah, we should go into that one day.
We should just do a talk, a show on programs, like what to use.
Yeah.
Like our top 10 favorite tools and programs.
Love it. Yes.
I'd be all over that. So okay, so create a deal room, get your stuff organized, because if you're not organized, who wants to invest in a founder in a company that's not organized?
Yeah. And I wanted to add one more thing to that, is that as an investor myself, I can write you a check, right? Because I have a deal room, I have a due diligence report, but you have a round. So a round means that you're raising, let's say $500,000. My check size is typically 10 to 25,000. So you can do the math that you need a couple of more angel investors to come alongside me, right? I can only do so much advocating, but if I have a good due diligence report that I write, and I have a good deal room that's directed by the entrepreneur, I can easily share that information to other investors. We always sign treaties, other investors and other angel groups, so that you can actually fill your round. So you get yes multiple times by having all of it organized, being able to easily share. And that conversation is really easy for me to have with another investor saying, hey, this founder is fantastic. I've talked to them. I've actually written the check and they have all their stuff put together. It's all organized. Here you go. You do your due diligence now. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer whatever you need as an investor. Do you see
that
how
right there is golden?
Mm-hmm.
That right there is golden, because if you can get your first investor, like if you're so organized and the due diligence is done, your deal room is done, you're organized, you've pitched to the right investor, then that they can become your referral partner for other future investors or additional investors. I love that. Wow, this is so much fun, so much information, and I know that people watching the replay are going to want to connect with you. So we're not ending quite yet, because I have a round at the end that we added this year. It's called This or That.
Okay.
But Sylvia, before we go into the final round, where should people connect with you? I know, but you tell them where to connect with you and what's your call to action?
Yeah. So email is like just a horrible mess all the time on my end. LinkedIn is the preferred method of connecting with me. You do not need my email to connect with me on LinkedIn. You can follow me or you can connect with me. I'm very active on LinkedIn, as Mary knows, is I post almost every single day. So I'm constantly looking at it, and those messages are amazing. So if you do connect with me, little bite-sized tip right here is write a note. Say, I saw Mary's wonderful show, and I would love to connect with you and talk to you about your business. I'm like, okay, perfect, connect. If you do not, I pass you by. I have 657 today, messages to connect with me. I don't
need an assistant to go through and manage
But if you
those.
write a note, I will connect with you, and I will have conversations with you. So that's.
And if you write the note that we have mutual connections, I'm not connecting with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so many great tips, and I definitely want to do. I'm starting another show, another live show. I don't know what we're calling it yet. Something about Mary's mastermind tips. Give me 5. I haven't come up with a name, but I think I'd like to have you as like my first guest, and we're just going to talk about programs, tools, and apps. So that's coming up next month.
And you wanted a call to action.
Huh?
You wanted a call to action.
Yeah. What can people do to help you?
Oh, to help me is I have a podcast called She Invests. So if you really love it, I love having people download the files. You know how it is on podcasts is listen, share, and comment, review, all of those things. That is my passion project. So I make no money off of it. I hope one day I will. But right now it's really giving the voices to my colleagues who are other angel investors. So if you're interested in getting to yes, listen to a podcast here or there. They might be the best investor persona that you need for your business. And then you can connect with them saying, I heard you on She Invests podcast, and you will get the connection. I guarantee you.
That is brilliant. So all of you that are looking to get investors, listen to her podcast first. She invests, and take her tip, listen to the guests and stuff, and then connect with them and tell them, hey, I heard you on Sylvia's podcast.
Perfect.
Christine, you said, thanks, Sylvia and Mary. Wonderful hearing from both of you. Well, thank you, Christine, for tuning in. Okay, we're going to play my rapid round of this or that, where all my guests have to answer with one word. I'm going to give you two choices. You don't get to add a third one. You can't say both of them. You get to pick one thing, and I will not embarrass you. Are you ready, Sylvia?
I knew you wouldn't embarrass me. You're too wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Okay, here we go. Flip-flops or boots?
Flip-flops.
Pizza or tacos?
Tacos.
Country or rock and roll?
Rock and roll.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Baseball or football?
Oof, none. Football.
Okay. Movies or a nap?
Movies.
Mini golf or real golf?
Mini golf.
Laptop or desktop?
Laptop.
Podcast or video show?
Ooh, video show, because it's you.
Thank you. That's it. See, that was painless. Just a little fun way to wrap up our show. So Sylvia, thank you so much. Stay right there. I'll be right back. Hey, everyone, if you're ready to get known and be found and start filling your pipeline with sizzling hot leads, I just launched a new program that might be just right for you. It's called my VIP half-day intensive, and that's where we go through your entire profile and come up with a content strategy and your outreach strategy. Wait, what? You don't have one? You just got your profile up on LinkedIn thinking the leads are going to come in? Well, that kind of can happen, but you're going to get better leads, more leads, the right leads if you actually have a content strategy and a connection strategy. Like, how are you reaching out to people? We're calling this the 3C method: connect, cultivate, convert. Convert to opportunities. So whether you're looking for business, looking to speak on stages, looking to grow your network, this might be the right program for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a couple links over in the comments. I'll drop the page so you can learn more about what we can go over. But you get me for 4 hours, and we're going to do some pre-work. So literally, you're going to have everything done on your profile and a content strategy and your outreach, the in-mail strategy, what you're going to say, who you're going to be searching for. So if that's something that you're interested in, I'm going to drop those comments or the links over there, and you can connect with me there. But let's bring Sylvia back on. Sylvia, oh my gosh, I just always have so much fun with you.
I know, we always have fun.
So I'm going to drop some links in here. Okay, we're going to drop the links in, and then Sylvia, feel free to go over and drop your LinkedIn, your podcast link, any of those links.
Perfect.
There we go.
I can do that, no problem.
Okay, well, folks, this has been fun. This is Mary Fane Brandt with bite-sized tips for entrepreneurs, and my guest, wait, I'm going to get it right one day. My guest, Silvia Mah, Dr. Silvia Mah, the amazing angel investor and all-around genuine, fabulous human. So connect with her on LinkedIn, and you guys tune in next week. I think next Wednesday I'm going to do my first show solo on the new show, but I'm looking for that name. So I did a poll over. Did you put something? Oh, there we go. Copy.
And Mary, this way. Mary, she's a fantastic person, values aligned, impact, integrity, and just a fabulous human who I have known for so many years. And so whoever's tuning into the show, tune in every single week, whatever she has, sign up for those half-hour days. I know that she's looked at my LinkedIn for 5 minutes, up to 15, 30 minutes. And wow, I get a complete new profile. And even though I'm super active, she can also help me. So connect with her. She is amazing. She will always have you at the forefront. And that's very rare to find. So she's amazing.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Okay, folks, we got to run. It's been fun. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye.